Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de yet another awfully dumb article written by an ostensibly smart person on early retirement. Okay, this author says retiring early is terrible, and I'm here to tell you that his advice is terrible, and of course, I am always the correct one. Hey, XenPuck here. Another day not working for the man. Been early retired for, I don't know, almost 4 whole years now. I mean, other than that whole global pandemic thing right in the middle of this period, I've had the best time. So of course, in the moment that I see an article that says retiring early is terrible, I am immediately just frankly irritated and annoyed, right? But also curious. So I'll link the article below. I mean, frankly, the minute I see that it's from CNBC just makes me question its validity, right? Next, I check the author's credentials. Okay, he's a well-educated dude who's recognized in his field. Got to give respect to that. But frankly, I see no mention of him being actually retired. And as always, I'm not sure why I take retirement advice from people who, well, aren't retired themselves, right? That would be like, I don't know, taking advice on how to play the game of basketball from a sports writer. You know, the kind that's never played, right? Though, to be honest, this is not the best analogy, as I know there are plenty of people who do value the opinion of sports writers. I mean, I wouldn't, because, they don't actually know how to play the game. My God. Okay. Now, before I wail on this article, though, I will mention at the very least that the early bit that's being criticized here is not even really real early retirement for people who think about FIRE as a concept, right? It's really more just for senior citizens that are being forced out of the workplace, or senior citizens who doesn't actually know how to plan anything, making a decision to leave on a whim, something like that. So I can't really even be that mad about it. Still, this author dared to make a blanket statement like retiring early is terrible. And I've retired early, much earlier than the gist of his article, but still definitely early. So I'm going to refute and rebut, and you can decide whether a Harvard-trained economist is right or me, an actual retiree, is right. Okay. Now, if you like rants like these or just want to laugh at my uggo-muggo or whatever floats your boat, comment, like, subscribe, share, and all that social media buzzwords, because I'm already rich enough for me, and I will be regardless. I'll be great regardless. So point number one, the whole gist of why this author thinks people shouldn't retire early boils down to, well, he thinks that people in general have no money, right? Especially people near traditional retirement age, which is right now the generation of boomers, right? The median net worth apparently is only 144K. That's not enough to last decades, right? Actually, I'll say this particular point is valid, right? Absolutely true. But let me be clear, this has nothing to do with retiring early whatsoever. This is just the state of savings in the USA, right? If you have saved very little, sure, do not retire early, okay? But that's a given. In fact, don't retire at all if you have no savings. I guess in a way, the author does make this point as a solution for not retiring early, because it's simply not to retire at all, right? So I guess technically he's correct. If you're one of those people who's basically a senior but have no pension and only 144K in wealth, your only solution is not only to not retire early, but to never retire, okay? So low savings is an issue, but not an issue that prevents you from retiring early, but retiring ever. So to me, saying retiring early is terrible is complete BS, okay? The article should simply say, Americans on average cannot afford to ever retire. So either the author is a moron, or maybe he just didn't want to step on Susie Orman's whole spiel about working until you're dead, right? Point number two, the author shits on Social Security. Okay, that's fair. I do that too. Okay, most people take Social Security too early. Not because they've done the math, but more because they absolutely need the money. I mean, I know most people do that, but not people who plan, not people who want to actually retire early, like as in FIRE, right? I mean, presumably not just a year or 5 years, but decades early. I've already recently talked about how Social Security and how no FIRE adherents should ever count on it. So his point about how one should wait to collect Social Security until 70 is a complete moot point, right? Personally, I wouldn't care if Social Security got scrapped entirely. And I advise anybody who's interested in FIRE to ignore this program entirely, okay? So why would anybody even talk about how you get paid a bit more by age 70 in terms of retiring early anyway? They would not. To put it another way, people who take a Social Security at the earliest possible age, which I think is 62 right now, right? They're not so much retiring early, much more likely they needed some kind of income simply to survive, and they couldn't figure out any other way except to take the money, right? That's not retiring early. That's just being forced out and being straight up poor, bordering on destitute, right? Let me be clear, my early retirement life is filled with abundance. You see the clear difference here between what this author is talking about and actual FIRE life. Author's final point is, well, retiring early is quite dangerous because people can live a long time, even to 100. Wow, amazing. Except, wait, are we really talking about the same group of people here? The same group of people who cannot be bothered to save more than 144K in their entire lives, right? Who can't do any math as to when to take Social Security, who clearly have shown that they can only look forward in the most short-sighted way possible. You think these are the people who is going to live well enough past the average age to 90 to 100? Is this some alternate universe where being a dumb average person makes them long-lived? What? I mean, at this point, I just think the author is insane, right? Or should we actually look at the average person in the USA who's probably in as terrible of a physical shape as they are in financial shape, right? If the average US citizen only has 144K in wealth, which is, by the way, about only 1/10, so 10% of what they need, I'm going to guess they're probably absolutely in the bottom 10 percentile in terms of long-term health as well, okay? You can't say, well, only a minority of people are well prepared financially, but then assume physically somehow an entirely different group of people will have that longevity gene. That's not how life works, okay? There's a reason why the US actually has a declining death age in the last couple of years, right? Because the same lack of mental discipline infects both financial and physical well-being. So don't worry you'll somehow live to be 100. The chances of that is abysmally low if you have little money to begin with. And you know who will likely live to an old age though? People who actually plan ahead, okay? So in conclusion, this author is pretty much full of himself, right? And the nail in the coffin, as if this doesn't prove my point, rather, is that at the end of the article he mentions that how he himself is 71, will probably keep working until he dies because it's so satisfying. Wow, awful. Why do I think this point is awful? Because he's a writer and basically a creative type of person, right? These people do tend to love their jobs. That's great. It's a great job if you can get it right. Even better, if it's the right drivel that just scares other people and completely misses the point of real early retirement. But seriously, the advice of just keep working because you love it? Is this Ivy-educated economist really addressing the average seniors, which is who he's talking about in this article with this statement, right? Do people on the verge of retirement love doing their usually non-creative jobs? Do these, Walmart greeters, supermarket cashiers, wait staff, mechanics, janitors, airport agents, trashmen love their jobs to keep at it past the age of 70 and beyond? What a joke, right? Why can't those plebs just love their jobs and find it in their hearts to feel rewarded? Why would any of these average people in life not want to keep working until they die? If you don't know the answer to that question, then I guess working until you die is the only answer. Okay? Think about that. Cheers. A la prochaine.